Good morning. This morning we're going to talk about how to protect copyrighted material on Moodle. Most of the materials that go on Moodle are probably going to be things that you made yourself, maybe worksheets or discussion notes or questions or things like that. But occasionally you may have some materials that you have a concern about the copyright of, like perhaps some worksheets that came with your MacBook or a video or something like that. If you have a concern about that, there are ways to lock that so that it's only visible to people who are actually in your class. You can make it just disappear for anybody who's not registered as a member of your class. To do this, you're going to have to do a couple of steps. The first of which is to set up groups in your class. Now, if you don't know what a group is, then you need to go back and watch the video about how to set up groups before you try to do this. But if your groups are all set up, then keep watching and I'll show you how to make something visible to a group member but invisible to the rest of the world.
So here we are logged into Mr. Teacher's class. The first thing that he'll want to do once he gets logged in is drop down here to Settings and click on Groups. Now as you can see, Mr. Teacher already has his group set up, and if this were a real class he would have students enrolled in them. So if you've got your students in groups, you're ready to go on to the next step. If you don't have any students in your groups, then you'll want to go back and watch the groups movie first and make sure the kids are actually in groups. Otherwise, what you're about to do will make this invisible for everyone. What you'll do is jump over here to the Groupings tab. And you will, if you don't already have one, create a group called Private Course Material. Now, I did this for everybody I could find throughout the entire school district. But perhaps you're a new teacher, or perhaps I sometimes somehow missed you. You'll just want to create this private group material grouping and save changes. Now, what is a grouping? A grouping is kind of like a group for groups to be in, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a master group. Like you might have the 5th grade could be a grouping, and then within the 5th grade you've got Fleece and Hawkins and different teachers who have their own groups. So private course material is going to be one group for everybody in the course to be a member of. And so I'm going to go ahead and show the groups in the grouping. I'm just going to take everybody and add them to the grouping. So what this does is that it will take all of the members of these groups, A3, A5, B2, all these members are going to be members of the master group, which is private course material. Once I've done that, I jump back to my home page and I'll turn editing on. Now let's say that for some reason my class rules I got from a copyrighted source and I want to make this invisible to people who are not members of the class. Well, I can go ahead and click on editing right here. What I'll do is just go down to the very bottom, and the last thing that you've got is called Common Module Setting. And if you want to make this available only for group members, you click on it and make it private course material. Now you remember from a minute ago that all of your groups are part of private course material. So if a student is a registered member of your class, he'll be able to see it. If he's not, then he won't. So right now, as a teacher, you can see this. But let's say that you log out for a minute. This would disappear to all guests, which are people who are not logged in and not members of your class. So what this effectively does is it takes material that you have concerns about the copyright of and makes them literally disappear. They will be invisible unless the student is logged in. Now, you might want to make a note of this. Like, let's say, for example, you teach 5th grade and you've got your math material on your website and it's all of the worksheets that came with your textbook. Well, if you tell parents that all of your things are on your web page and then they go and can't see them, that might cause some frustration. So I would make a note to them and say, you must be logged in using your son or daughter's account in order to see the materials. And that should lower the frustration level and solve any concerns about copyrights that you may have.
So as you can see, making something invisible to guest users isn't so hard. If you do have questions about it, you can always give me a call or send me an email and I'll be happy to stop by and give you a hand. You can use this technique anytime that you're concerned about copyrights. In the meantime, I think it's time for me to disappear as I have some other things to work on. I'll talk to you later, and have a great day.